It's Sunday and I have the next day off, a Monday. Let's see how much I can read in 24 hours. Hi friends and readers, I am going to see how much I can read in 24 hours. We're calling this Vic's version and this is going to be episode 2. I did a version of this not that long ago, back near Thanksgiving maybe? I'm not sure. But we're gonna do it again because tomorrow is Monday and normally I work full-time during the week, but I have tomorrow off for MLK Day. So we're just going to read for the next 24 hours. Want to go over a little bit of ground rules for what this challenge will look like for me. The first rule I have for myself during this 24-hour challenge is that the timer will not stop. This is generally how much I can read in 24 hours. So the timer is going to run. The idea for me here is that for the next 24 hours, I'm just going to focus on reading. I'm going to pick up a book as much as I can, read as much as I can, or take in reading as much as I can. But the timer is going to go on. So it's not one of those things where I'm going to try to stay up all night, but if I'm reading and I'm feeling really into the reading, maybe I'll stay up a little bit longer than I do. It will run while I'm sleeping though. So once I start the timer, it'll end 24 hours from then. Rule number 2 is no social media. We are going on do not disturb for this 24 hours. Instead of reaching for my phone, I will be reaching for my book. I find that being on do not disturb helps me a lot while I'm reading. And then of course, not being on social media. Sometimes social media can be a large part of my day. And since we're prioritizing reading today, we need to cut the social media out. Which leads me to rule number 3, and that is just that life goes on. I do want to devote the next 24 hours, minus eating and sleeping, to reading, but there are some things that just have to get done. Like I need to fold my laundry, and maybe I want to do a little bit of scrapbooking. So we're gonna do those life goes on tasks if needed. They just won't be the first option or the majority of the time that I'll be awake. But if I do those things, I'm going to listen to audiobooks, which is kind of rule number 4, that audiobooks will count towards my reading. And also when I talk to you, the timer's not going to stop. I think that pretty much sums up what we're going at for the next 24 hours. It's 4:10 p.m. I do need to finish up editing the video that I finished this morning, actually, a reading vlog, which will lead me to what book we'll be trying to completely finish in this 24 hours. Once I finish editing that, and I think that's the only thing left, then I'm gonna start the 24-hour timer. So I don't know how much longer until I started, but you'll know when I do because I'll be showing you. Duh. Let's go. Hello. I am coming with my first update in the 24-hour reading challenge. We are 1 hour and 53 minutes into this challenge. Last time I did this, I did the timer that was for 24 hours, so it was really counting down, and it was really hard for me to understand simple math, apparently, to see how many hours it had been counting down instead of counting up to 24. So I decided to do a stopwatch timer to go up this time, so it's easy to tell how much time has passed. We're nearly at 2 hours and I have been reading for the entire time. Today I am reading The Winners by Frederick Bachman. Last week I did a video of reading the most anticipated series of the year for me. So probably the most anticipated series I wanted to read on my TBR altogether. And I finished that reading vlog today. It actually went on YouTube today, which is where I read the first book in this series, which is Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Beartown by Frederick Bachman, it seems like, or what I thought was just going to be about an ice hockey team, a junior ice hockey team. So young kids, they're 13s, they're 14s, and then sometimes we get to see the little bit older kids, 16, 17-year-olds on the A team, but mostly focusing on this small kids hockey team in a small town in a wintry forest in the middle of nowhere. It is so much more than about ice hockey. I will say, of the 3 books so far in the series, you hear the most about hockey in the first book. Essentially, this is a small town who is really struggling to keep afloat. People are losing their jobs, there's no tourism, and there's no money being backed in the town. And so there's like one grocery store. The town is struggling. They are rallying behind this ice hockey team and these small children to be successful and to bring money back to Beartown. Something very tragic happens in this story, and we are people watching all the different characters who are involved in Beartown. The ice hockey players, their siblings, their parents, the grandparents, the coaches, neighbors, anyone and everyone, because there's all a point of connection of this town. And when this really bad thing, this tragic heavy thing happens to one person in particular, but also lots of other tragic things are happening, I would check the warnings if you're going to read a book and be in a certain mindset to read this book or this series. The town has to rally or maybe not rally. And so yes, we learn hockey, and come here. And you learn about hockey and the men in hockey. There's a lot of locker room talk and some, quite frankly, discussing things that men can say when they're influenced by other men and no one speaks up. It is a book that's going to make you uncomfortable if you don't appreciate that stuff. I was uncomfortable for a lot of this book. There's also a tale of so many people who are the exception to this small town and their small way of thinking that make this a worthwhile read. I gave it a 4-star. And then I moved on to the second book by Frederick Bachman, which is Us Against You. Now, of the 3 books, I would say from book number 1, there's a good focus on hockey, and book number 2, I'd say there's a more of a focus on healing. We are, like I said, people watching all of Beartown, and this book goes on to show what's happening in their lives after those tragic events in Beartown. And can this ice hockey team even still exist in book number 2? Can these families move on? Can the neighbors rally around their friends? What are we as a small town? I think that this is about shaping, rebuilding, and healing more so than it is about hockey. There is a piece of hockey towards the end of this story. There's a big rivalry in this town I don't mention. We have Beartown Bears, and then their rival team in hockey is Hed, spelled H-E-D. I think this is Swedish. I think that Frederick Bachman is from Sweden. I honestly don't know if this book is based in Sweden though. But the rival team is Hed, and a lot of the kids in their high school and their grade schools, they all go to the same school, but then they go to these different ice hockey teams. And boy, do you learn how mean young kids can be when it comes to Beartown and ice hockey. There are things that happen at the very end of Us Against You that really just break your heart. You want to root for these characters to heal and to get better, and as soon as they do, life begins happening again and again and again. So moving into third book in this 24-hour challenge and the final book in the series, it's a pretty big one, 600 something pages I believe, The Winners. I am really hoping the title is what's going to happen for these exceptions of nice people in Beartown and this big family that's being built across the series. All these bad things have happened, and I'm just ready to see them heal completely and all the good luck come to them. And also a little bit of hockey. I want some more hockey back after the heaviness of book 1, not as much hockey in book 2, and now the winners of book 3. So we have officially hit 2 hours just now on my clock. I've been talking and sitting around for 7 minutes. I have, in the hour and about 50 so minutes that I started reading this book from page 1 today, I am on chapter 18, which is page 107. So we read 107 pages in that hour and 50 minutes-ish. I think that this was the perfect book to do this challenge with. I've just spent the last week in this series, and now I get to wrap it up in a bow in the next 24 hours, at least I hope. The first time I did this 24-hour video, I read Quicksilver, and it was 600 pages, I believe, or just under 600 pages, can't quite remember, and I just barely finished it after like 20 minutes the timer had expired. If I really commit my time, I do think that I'll finish this by tomorrow night. I am about to take a break, but the timer is still going to run. The timer is still going to run, and I'm am going to go shower, brush my teeth, get ready for bed, and listen to audio as I do that because The Winners is on Spotify Premium and my hours renewed yesterday. So I have 15 hours of Spotify Premium that I can use in the next 24 hours to listen while I can't pick up the physical book. I will also probably read after I get out of the shower and get ready for bed, but I probably won't update you until tomorrow morning. The timer will keep running and I'll let you know how many more pages we finish after the shower tonight. Talk to you then. Jump scare. I'm going to bed. It's almost 11 o'clock. We are 4 hours and 42 minutes into the challenge, and I just stopped on chapter 31, which is page 199. We followed all the rules so far. I did take a shower and didn't end up listening to the audiobook, so we're kind of behind in that sense, but we're not behind at all because this is my challenge, and we're just seeing how much we can read in 24 hours. I'm gonna wake up and start reading again, so talk to you in the morning. Good morning to me. It is 10:13 a.m., which means we are just now approaching almost 16 hours. We're 2 minutes out from 16 hours of this challenge, and we are on page, I think I'm approaching halfway through the book, page 311, which is chapter 48 in The Winners by Frederick Bachman. I got up this morning and started listening to it on audiobook while I got ready and ate breakfast, and then the last hour or so I've been sitting down in my chair with little Louie. He's down here, you can't see. Reading just the paperback copy. I think I'm gonna read the paperback a little bit longer this morning, and then I'm gonna try to do some junk journaling. Basically, just wanna get some more audio hours in while I journal a little bit, maybe in the next hour or so, but we're gonna keep reading for now. The book is just getting really heavy and my hand's starting to hurt, so I feel like I need a little bit of audio hours. We still have over about 8 hours left in this challenge, and really just going to eat lunch in between there, journal, and do some laundry. So a lot of progress to be made in the book, but also a lot of time left. How we're feeling about The Winners, from this being book 3 in the series and the final book of the series, we actually have been introduced to some new characters and some new families, about 2 or 3 of them that really weren't in the previous books at all, at least not that I caught on to. And so that's adding a little bit of more people watching, but a little bit more to the plot, like trying to piece together how these families might come to connect with the people we've seen so far in the series. This town is still certainly working through some prejudices, and it's not as much as you see in book 1 and book 2, but every time we think that they're going to heal and move past the rivalry, grow and learn, they take 2 steps backwards. So halfway through, I'm really scared to see what's going to happen to these people and how they are going to resolve and move forward and be the winners. There's not a lot of hockey involved at this moment, but I do think that it's going to be a big part coming into the second half of this book. Also, we're missing out on some characters that I really, really love. Something tragic has happened again in this town that's bringing back people who needed some time away, and I'm excited to see if they stick around because I really like them and hope the best for them. Like, they're real people in my lives. So I'm gonna keep reading. It is 2:18 p.m. Got something in my throat. And we are just now at 20 hours and 3 minutes. I just finished a chapter. I was trying to stop at 20 hours, but sometimes you just can't time it out right. So we have just under 4 hours left in this reading challenge. And I've been really proud of myself. We haven't been on social media. Of course, the timer has run. And I've gotten all the things that I really wanted to accomplish done in the last 24 hours, like laundry and a little bit of of junk journaling earlier, so I listened to the audiobook while I was doing it, ate lunch, and now really there's nothing between me and the last 4 hours. I might do a little walk. I haven't decided if I should do that inside or outside. It's quite cold outside, so I might do it on my walk pad. But other than that, we're just going to read for the next little less than 4 hours. I am on page 517, which is chapter 84 in The Winners by Frederick Bachman. So we only have this much left in the story. I flipped to the back without trying to see any spoilers, and there's 670 pages. So we are nearly approaching 150 pages left. I think 153 pages left. And I'm worried. That is not a lot. And I feel like things are still building to something about to happen. And I don't want anything bad to happen to the people, because I finally want them to have the big break and enjoy their lives. But it feels like we're still building to something, so I'm a little bit worried about where the last 150 pages are going. I really hope these characters get a resolution. Of course, I do think they will, but if you know anything about Frederick Bachman, is he writes life so well and all the small nuances of life. And as this town is trying to heal and then can't heal, here we are. Life is happening yet again. I do remember in the second book, there was a line very early on in the book that I underlined. Frederick Bachman will sometimes hint to the future that something has already happened. Whether he says exactly, like book number 1, first chapter, what's gonna happen, or he hints to it and it's so far off that you as the reader forget all about it and might not remember who it was about or even know who it was about. You just know that something's going to happen to a certain amount of people. I remember underlining that in book number 2, and I have not been able to forget it because I underlined it. And so I'm wondering if what I underlined comes to fruition in the last 150 pages. I hope not. I really hope not. And then one final thing that I'll say is something just happened that I will go on as a broken record to say. I hate reading. I hate when authors write this into the book, and if I'd known these things were being, this specific thing that happened was going to be in the book, I would have said previously that I wouldn't have picked up the book. So far, the 2 or 3 books I've read where it happens, I felt deeply that I didn't think those books were bad, but also never talk about them again. And this is one of those books where I think I'm gonna rate it a 5-star, but I'm so upset that this happened. I know I'm being so vague and you're like, what happened? Why don't you want to read about it? I don't want to spoil anything, but a little sad that I had to read that. It did make me cry. So if that was not the big event, which I know it wasn't, I can only imagine how much crying is going to happen for the rest of this. Anyways, we're just going to keep trudging along. I'm hoping that I can finish the last 150 pages before the timer runs out, and I think I will. We have approached nearly 23 hours in this How Much Can I Read in 24 Hours video. And as you probably just saw, I was crying so hard that I went to blow my nose before I finished the last 30 pages of the book and gave myself a nosebleed. So I sat there with that in my nose to finish the book and tried not to cry again so I didn't have to blow my nose again. It's 22 hours 57 minutes left on the clock, and we have finished our first book because it was 670 pages. I just finished The Winners by Beartown, and I am definitely going to give this book a 5 stars, but I have never given a book a 5 stars and felt the way I feel about this book. I feel sad, it feels heavy, there's so much grief, there's so much sadness, and quite honestly, I don't think a book has ever wrapped up like this that I've read, and I've still given it a 5 stars. Maybe I've just spent the last week and some change in the world of Beartown account with characters' lives going through all the things they've gone through, and that has led me to give this final book a 5-star. But boy, I did not expect this. My first video picking up this series was the most anticipated series on my TBR, and I had no clue what I was in for. Frederick Bachman writes life a little too good, and the reason why some of these things feel so heavy is because they're not all good and they feel so real, and part of that kind of sucks that these are experiences that you can see happening in people's lives, maybe your own, and not necessarily for the good. And I don't know. I suggest you read the series and you form opinions on your own, because I don't know how to describe this to anyone else other than it's a book and it's a series that is well beyond ice hockey, even though that's all you think it's about. At least that's all I thought it was about. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. And I have about 1 hour left in this challenge as of right now. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the timer. I will not be reading for the next hour. I thought maybe I could pick up a different book and finish out my pages, but we're gonna say, how many pages can I read in 24 hours? 670, because I cannot move on past this, nor do I want to in the next hour. However, this was really fun to do. I don't think if I just sat down on my day off without this challenge, I would have read this much. And I wasn't forcing myself to read, not necessarily when I didn't want to. I was forcing myself not to pick up my phone, which I need to do anyways, so maybe we'll do this challenge more often on a day off. Whew. I need to find if someone in my life has read this series, because oh my gosh. Well, that's all. Bye for now.